Professional Development Assignment by Vanessa Costa. So now's your time to go and download this app. You can find it on the App Store. It has like a little icon with a monkey and like a little alien spaceship. So just look up Sight Words for Kids and Phoenix Reading. If you download it now, it won't take up our time when we're actually using the app. So this app can be found free on the App Store if you just look up Sight Words for Kids. I chose this app due to its high ratings and easy navigation around the app itself. It targets children's linguistic skills ages 2 to 8. It is very interactive and keeps young children engaged while learning and developing their linguistic skills. Moving forward, we're going to take a look at CBC News' stance on virtual learning.
98% of American homes with children now have an electronic mobile device. And on average, kids 8 and under spend more than 2 hours a day looking at a screen. Is that too much? Or could there actually be developmental benefits to screen time? This is Your Brain On, where we explore how the world affects our brains and ourselves. Young brains need a lot of external stimuli to develop, particularly from birth to age 3, what's known as the critical period. It's during this time that children's neurons are making connections for fundamental skills such as vision, hearing, and language. But these needs are based on centuries of human evolution, which used to have nothing to do with screens. Consider a child watching a video instead of listening to parents read a book. It's a far different experience for the brain. Rather than kids learning to focus and imagine the story, the device presents everything to them, so certain cognitive systems become underdeveloped. And when children spend too much time in front of a screen rather than interacting with people, they can have stunted development of the frontal lobe, part of the brain that decodes social interactions. It can become more difficult to develop empathy or learn social cues like facial expressions. What's more, the stimuli from a screen can be a lot. Colors, sounds, stories, all at a super fast pace. That can be sensory overload, releasing stress hormones such as cortisol. It can also overactivate the brain's reward systems, like the addictive hormone dopamine, getting kids used to immediate gratification they wouldn't get in the real world. So most scientists and doctors agree that screen time can alter young, still-forming brains, but in some ways, that change can be positive. Take the results of one recent study that exposed young mice 6 hours daily to audiovisual stimuli similar to those found in a video game. After 10 days, the mice showed signs of hyperactivity, impaired learning, and risk-taking. But the mice also stayed calm in an environment that usually would have stressed them out. Some scientists now argue screen time can help prepare a child's brain for our increasingly fast-paced, high-stimulus world. So, screen time isn't always bad, and it isn't all created equal either. An educational letter-matching game isn't the same as a violent movie. As with many things, the key is moderation. Limiting daily screen time and making sure the child can function in all of modern life, not only with screens, but in the real world too.
So I definitely agree with CBC News's clip on the iPad and it may affecting your child's development, but I do think it could have some positives, just in moderation and ensuring that your child is going on appropriate websites. So let's jump forward and talk about linguistic skills. Linguistic development is a crucial aspect needed throughout one's whole life. Linguistic development begins with our birth givers, our parents, and the extensive knowledge or vocabulary they know themselves. After children begin to go to preschool, to extend their basic knowledge they already know. By this time, children already know basic things such as colors. You can ask them which one is the red crayon, and they'll most likely be able to point to it. They can also form sentences, very simple ones, such as, "This is a dog," and things like that. Children's linguistic skills follow an orthogenic pattern. So, this means development is a process that goes from simple to complex, and it happens over a span of time. Babies first begin babbling, trying to say words, before they could ever speak full sentences. As in, like, they first begin saying mama, dada, before they start saying, I like this, and so on. Jumping forward, let's look at this tree of development. It gives us a good insight on how children's linguistic skills develop.
Talking and using language is a huge part of everyday communication. But how does it develop? Language development can be compared to the growth of a tree. Imagine a newborn child is like a seed. First, a tree has to grow roots before it can start growing its trunk. Think of these roots as the child's understanding. The roots are the foundation of a tree, as understanding is the foundation of language. A trunk of a tree starts very small, but continues to grow as the roots do. The trunk can be compared to the child's vocabulary. At first, a child can only say a few single words. Once a child's trunk or vocabulary is large enough, it will begin to grow branches. These branches are sentences. Children will begin to make sentences once they've developed around 50 words. The next to grow are the leaves. The leaves represent the grammar or sentence structure of language. Finally, the last thing to develop once the tree has enough leaves are the fruit. This fruit can be compared to the child's speech sounds. They will fully develop once basic language is in place. Now we know the stages that language develops, but how do we help this tree grow? Child's language is developed through hearing language, also known as language input. This can be compared to watering a tree. You have to water the roots of a tree for it to thrive, meaning the emphasis should be on feeding a child's understanding rather than forcing them to imitate adult speech. The last important element involved in growing a tree is sunlight. This is equivalent to praise and encouragement. Praise brightens a child's mood and increases their confidence in using language. Encouragement and praise make language development fun and more likely to stick.
Well, you may be asking, when do we use these linguistic skills in our everyday experiences? So I'm using linguistic skills during this oral presentation right now, communicating to you guys. When communicating with a teacher or friend, you're also using your linguistic skills. When having to read and comprehend something such as an article, you're using your linguistic skills. We use linguistic skills on a daily basis, whether we mean to or not. We can fully advance these skills by doing things such as daily reading or targeting goal-specific apps such as this one. So let's talk about the benefits of linguistic skills. It supports your child's ability to communicate. It also supports your child's ability to express their feelings and understand their feelings. Think and learn. It also helps them solve problems. And it helps them develop and maintain relationships. Through research, we have seen that children with poor linguistic skills have a hard time communicating or even making those friendship bridges or connections, just simply due to their inability to communicate effectively. Whether this might be normal conversation on a daily basis that they're struggling with, or having a hard time expressing themselves, this leads to not being able to maintain or create those friendship bridges. So, Sight Words in Phoenix Reading has a rating 4.5 out of 5. So a lot of parents actually like it, and a lot of the ratings say like this is an amazing app. It's helped my son or daughter a lot with basic reading and just getting started. A lot of like their 3 and 4 year olds. So this one review says, "My child is 3.5 years old and he enjoys this game. Great for learning letters. He plays for 15 minutes easily, and no longer on my tablet with other games I have downloaded." So let's talk about how to use this app. This app has many different levels ranging in age and skill based. So it is for the ages ranging in basically 2 to 8 years old. Children can begin tracing letters with their fingers, getting familiar with the alphabet. Other tasks are listening and matching words to the correct one that you hear. Then you move on to more complex things such as sentence forming. This follows the orthogenic pattern seen that we talked about above, where children's development goes from simple to complex. So let's get on to the fun part and test out this app. You have around 5 to 7 minutes. Pause the video right now and test out the app for yourself. It's in the bottom right corner if you guys didn't download it in the time earlier. It's a free app. Just search Sight Words in Phoenix Reading and you should find it. It has a little monkey and an alien spaceship. So now that we've all used the app for ourselves, let's get more into it. How do children benefit from using this app? Well, it aids them in developing their linguistic skills, and it is also fun and engaging while expanding their knowledge. While this app does focus on linguistic skills, it also does have other factors to it. It focuses on fine motor skills a bit too. Fine motor skills refer to the coordinates between small muscles, like those of the hands and fingers, with the eyes. Fine motor skills involve the small muscles of the body that enable such functions as writing, grasping small objects, and fastening clothes. So, while you were using this app, you might have noticed that you have to do a lot of things where you have to match and drag your finger and maybe trace over words and such. These are using your fine motor skills. For young children, these are developing their fine motor skills, strengthening them. Now's the time for any questions. If you have any questions, pause the video now. So my overall concluding thoughts on the app is that I definitely love it and how it aids to developing children's linguistic skills, setting them up for success, as we know linguistic skills will be used all throughout one's life. This app is a very outstanding in my eyes, and it's very child appropriate. It uses those techniques to keep a child occupied so that they don't have a chance to be bored with their short attention spans.